Hello, friends. Welcome to Secular Sessions with Raj. Today I'm joined by Hein from Netherlands. He is one of the hosts on the channel Skeptic Haven, which I got the opportunity to talk a few times. So this is the first time I'm talking to Hein. Thank you so much for doing it, Hein. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm fine. We're here in a newly acquired winter time. Last night the clock went from summertime to ordinary time, so I had a long night's sleep.
Awesome. Daylight saving is an interesting thing. We don't have it in India,
It
but
doesn't make sense, of course, in India.
I used to have a friend who also live in Netherlands, and he was saying the clock moved today, and I'm like, how does that happen?
Yes, well, it's something that was introduced in the 1970s
Uh-huh.
as an idea to save energy. Maybe you remember that in the 1970s, around 72, 73, there was a bit of a tiff between the oil-producing nations, particularly Saudi Arabia, and the West. And so oil supplies were widely reduced. And so that eventually got to, plans off and made to distribute gasoline or petrol.
Oh, I see.
That never happened, but I remember my parents getting I don't even know the ticket system. Essentially, you when you buy petrol, you have to hand in so many coupons, something like that.
Really? That's very cool.
Yes, it never happened because the problem was, of course, was about Israel and that. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but the problem was solved and all that. But by then, people started to understand that energy savings was a good thing. And the
Yes.
idea being that because we live, Netherlands sits at 52 degrees north.
Oh,
In high summer, in June, July, we have 16 days of daylight.
oh, wow.
And in winter,
Mhm.
around this December, we only have 8 hours of daylight.
Ah, I see. That's quite a difference.
And yes, that is quite a difference. So the idea is that if you shift the clock 1 hour,
Mhm.
you move 1 hour in the early morning to the evening, when from a time that few people are at work or something like that and use much energy, and we put that to the evening. In general, on the evenings, you get better use of your energy infrastructure, and in general, it's supposed to save energy.
Oh, wow. That's quite interesting.
And yes, and that's been going on for ever since.
Mhm.
We changed the pattern a bit because, well, in I think the 1980s, the European Union introduced I'd say that a scheme for countries that do summertime to use the same days to switch and all that, which makes, of course, life a bit easier. I mean, last week I had some trouble because in the US,
Mhm.
the daylight saving time switch is 1 week later, 1 week earlier. I don't know. I have a computer program for that. But that means that there's 1 week that things are an hour different. It's terrible. Anyway, there is quite some, let's say, political pressure to get rid of summertime
Oh,
because, well, I mean, studies didn't show a real energy saving from it. And it's a bit of a bother, the time switching twice a year. I mean, I don't mind, but it's a bit of a bother. And so the idea is now when we get rid of it, if it hasn't been decided yet, but the EU at least have given the member nations the choice, do it or don't.
oh, wow.
And so I think in a few years we'll get rid of it. I do hope that they'll decide to keep the, let's say the summertime schedule, simply because I love long evenings.
Yeah, you'll be able to do a lot of stuff like going out for a walk after work. I don't know what the work time is over there.
Yes. For me, an ordinary work day ends at 5. In the summer, it's daylight till 10, 11-ish. So that if I want to do something outside, I can. No problem.
So you can, I don't know, do some gardening or after dinner, like
walk.
8 o'clock or something.
Yes, no problem.
Oh.
Of course, in winter, around 5, it gets dark.
Oh, wow. So when you commute back, so if you're going to work, assuming it's an 8-hour work day over there or 8 or 9 hour?
Yeah, I start at 9 and I go home at 5.
So about 8 hour. And so when you're going to work, it's dark, and you're coming back home, it's dark. If there's no daylight shift.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I used to work for the Dutch telephone company, and I did some technical work in an inside room without windows.
Oh, wow.
And that meant that in winter, there were days that I didn't see daylight at all.
Wow, that is really unheard of in India. Like you see light, you can't miss it.
Yes. Let me tell you, that didn't work for me. I took up an after lunch walk then. And I still do that when I'm at work. After lunch, I have a little walkabout.
Wow.
So, little insight in how life in Europe is.
No, it's quite interesting for me. I'm just thinking, I know we should be talking about atheism, but this is really interesting as well.
No worries.
Because if you're not able to get the sunlight during the whole day, I'm sure it'll have draining effects on your mental health and your body as well, because it does give you vitamin D, right?
The vitamin D is not the biggest problem. You don't need much sunlight to make enough vitamin D. So that's not the biggest problem, but definitely, it's not good for your mood, day in darkness.
Okay. Yeah.
Depression is maybe a bit much to call it, but definitely it's bad for your mood. And so that's why I took up the after lunch walk. At least you see sunlight.
Awesome. So dark light or no light can give you dark thoughts.
Yes. It's one of those things that, the medical world is not 100% certain it's a fact, but is widely reported by people who live on northern or very southern latitudes. That in the winters they firmly are in not so good a state.
I see. So, coming back to the topic, why are you an atheist? Were you atheist from the get-go, or you switched later on in life?
No, I was raised without religion. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized I was an atheist, but yes, my parents didn't do religion. I've never found any reason to change my mind on that. From my 30s, I call myself an atheist.
Oh, wow. So you didn't know the word atheist, or is it that you just didn't believe in God? Or?
The idea was like this. When people in school or around me asked about that kind, you must first of all realize that in, let's say, the western part of my nation, where the largest population lives, religion is not very popular and wasn't when I grew up. I mean, it was something that was around. People were, there were churches, Christian schools, stuff like that. And then we talk. I grew up in the 1960s, and when people were religious, they were mostly Christians. I was aware of, let's say, Jews, but that was about it.
Okay.
I mean, nowadays, religious life in the Netherlands is much more varied. Okay. But also, the interesting bit is also much less. Fewer than half of the Dutch are religious.
Oh, I see.
So I'm not quite. I mean, not the majority who's not religious. Not all of them are atheists, or even some of them even have very vague ideas that, well, there may be a higher power that is pulling strings, but that's very vague. People who are a member of a church or a mosque, whatever, is something like 30% of the population.
I see. There is a thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and of them, maybe 5% go to church, mosque, temple every week.
I see.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking that you said that non-religious people are not same as atheists. I don't think I've heard this distinction. So the non-religious people could just be the people who don't think the religious gods are true, but there could be some higher power?
Yes. Yeah, there's even a word for that, interesting, taken from Dutch, atheism. Atheism is a Dutch word for something, and essentially the idea is there is each something that wrote the script or created the lot, or I'm not there. I never believed that kind of stuff either. But I know quite a few people who have that kind of beliefs. But when you drop them to be more specific, nothing.
I see. And do you know why they hold that belief, or they haven't really answered that question?
I've tried to find out with a few friends who at least mentioned that kind of thing. And in one case, I think it's left over from a Christian upbringing. And in one case, I think it was a matter of personal trauma that pushed her, in this case, into that. When I hear about people with traumatic experiences, I don't push too hard for details. It's none of my business.
No, fair enough. No, that's...
But I can sort of understand that. Particularly, let's say, illness or violent encounters, that kind of thing, makes you wonder exactly why it happened to you. And even though there is no answer to that, at least not one that satisfies me, the kind of thing that, well, just happened. But yes, I can understand that people interpret that as something you do that for someone. And I think that's the background of that. But when I ask for details, nothing clear comes out. Unless, I'm fine with it, by the way. So those are the people who I call non-religious, but also not atheist.
I see. Because in India here, people, most of my friends, when you try to probe them and they don't really mind, and I don't come across to them as an atheist because I'm talking normally, And then most of them tend to go for comfort because in India, it's a lot of competition and it's a lot of like you trying to get a job or find a mate or, all those sort of things. And by believing in God, it gives them hope and comfort. If things are bad, then it's still giving them comfort that, somebody's testing them and writing a script, as you mentioned, and it'll be fine in the end. So I think that's why people don't want to let go of the idea of God. Um, what brought you into so when you grow so you're not religious and you're an atheist and it seems like that religiosity doesn't affect you too much in your area. So why did
No.
you decided to be an activist on an atheist channel?
Yeah. I think we come here to the ACA YouTube videos that
Mhm,
for some reason, I don't even know exactly how that happened, but I ran into that. And I found out that watching the ACA shows like Talk Heathen and
mhm,
Atheist Experience was fun to watch.
mhm,
I mean, there's a bit that before that in the 1990s,
mhm.
when the internet was just becoming a thing here.
Yeah.
I was rather active in Usenet. Maybe you
Mhm,
know what it is, maybe you don't, but it's essentially a bulletin board system across the internet. It still
mhm,
exists, but it isn't used that much anymore.
mhm,
I mean, the format is, let's say, like you post a message, and that can be from a few lines to a novel.
mhm,
There are no limitations there.
mhm,
And it's about subjects, and people react to that pretty much like in Discord. Discord limits the length of message,
mhm. I see.
and Usenet doesn't do that. And um, I ran into a few the oh dear the Usenet is divided in news groups,
Mhm,
and the few news groups I followed were Alt Atheism and Talk Origins.
mhm. Oh,
Talk
talking.
Origins. Talk Origins is a debate about essentially creation versus evolution, and I love that new group, particularly because quite a few of the contributors are well-known scientists
Oh, I see.
or nowadays well-known atheist activists, like for instance Aaron Ra.
Oh, wow.
He wrote there regularly, and through that I got into at least, well, it was through atheism
Mhm.
that I realized that, hey, I'm an atheist.
No, I see.
And from that time, I've been identifying as an atheist when asked.
Uh-huh.
But it is later through YouTube and the ACA shows that I got into activism.
Mm.
Um, and that, I mean, for the ACA shows itself, I've been doing the um, side chat moderation.
Moderation.
Yeah, for a bit more than a year now.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And it's about 2 now. And about a year ago, I started doing the Global Atheists show at
Skeptic Haven.
Skeptic Haven. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I rather like that.
So you just like talking to people on the other end of the planet.
Exactly.
Cool.
Uh, I mean, in the Global Atheists shows, I've been working a bit more in getting interesting guests on the show, and I mean, it's growing, and I love that.
Hmm. Yeah, I know that you've spoken to my online friend Zandriat a few times, and I've seen your clips as well. I've spoken to him a few times as well. He's a lovely chap.
Yes, yes, he's very nice.
Yeah. But so with doing that, do you I know that you like doing this skeptic haven stuff. Is there any eye-opening example that you've had, like you didn't thought about it that religion could be that bad, but somebody told you a story and then you were like, how can it be so bad?
Not personally. I
Mhm.
mean, not as in let's say online stuff like that. I mean, I've heard terrible things online, but
Mhm.
those were well, I wasn't in any way connected to that.
Mhm.
In personal life, however, yes.
Okay.
The fact that we don't have, I mean, the Netherlands isn't a very religious nation, but it doesn't mean that we don't have religious people. And some of them are weird or strict.
Mhm.
We've had a few sects, whatever you call them, and in a completely different thing like that.
I'm sorry, Hein.
In
Do
the
you
night,
wanna? I'm sorry, Hein. Do you wanna repeat it? Because when you were pouring
yeah,
the coffee,
yeah.
I
Sorry, yes, sorry about that.
that's
We have religions that are bad, and also in the 1990s, I got in contact with a few people who had just escaped from Scientology.
okay.
I don't know if you know about Scientology.
Scientology, I've heard, is a pseudoscience-based religion stuff, but that's about the extent
Yeah,
of my
okay.
knowledge.
I won't go into details apart from this that more blatantly than other religions, Scientology wants your money.
Okay.
And essentially, what they do is they recruit people from the street and through giving them or offering them courses, they extract all money they can get out of them. That
Okay.
is all the money they have, all the money they can lend from family and friends, and when they try, they spit them out.
Oh, wow. And people let them do it.
Yes. And I've met people who were robbed out of many thousands of guilders we used then, before we used the euro.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking about the kind of money that can buy you a house.
Oh, wow. That is amazing.
Yes, and quite some different kinds of abuse. Scientology still is, by the way, terrible.
Mhm.
And it's also at times violent. Um, Scientology doesn't debate. It sues people.
Okay.
When you publish something that is critical of Scientology, it's nowadays better because they had a few very nasty setbacks in the United States.
Mhm.
But I've been on the receiving end of emails, cease and desist emails,
Mhm.
because I wrote critical stuff about Scientology.
I see. And was it threatening in nature?
Yes,
Okay.
they threatened to sue me,
Oh, wow. That is
and
really bad.
I've been bit from the side, been involved in a famous lawsuit in the Netherlands of Scientology against a few internet providers, individuals, and one of them was a friend of mine,
Mhm.
guy in Spunk,
Mhm.
and she was in that lawsuit from beginning to end, and it lasted 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Law runs slowly in the Netherlands.
I think it's the same in India. If you are into court cases, or if you get a case around you, then it goes for your yonks before getting
Yes.
any decision. So it's
But eventually we won, and Scientology lost. Uh, Damages were paid. It was a mess, and eventually we had a big party. But during that case, I got to speak with a few victims of Scientology, and that was bad. And that's not just, I mean, it cost them a lot of money, but I mean, one of them was, what do you call that? I mean, Scientology has a method of people who flee from Scientology to, well, essentially follow them in their daily life, terrorize them, make their life difficult by ruining their job, stuff like that. They're terrible.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I'm not aware of ordinary, let's say, Christian religions that do that. I mean, they can be nasty about people leaving the church, but that's about it. I mean, okay, Muslims have much different ideas. I mean, well, I'll not go there. But what Christians would call apostasy in Scientology is, I mean, people have been killed.
Oh, wow. It is very serious.
Yes, they're not joking.
No. So even leaving the family, like, Christians shunning their children, is hard, I think, because for a child who's grown up in a Christian household and suddenly he goes out into college or wherever, and he develops this idea that I should question Bible, and then they just, can shun people out of the household. So the child who's totally reliant on their upbringing, always looked up to their parents, and then parents say, no, you leave us. And then you go into this world which you are just essentially born. It must be really hard to, get your way around. And some people are like 18 or 20. So it would be harder for them.
When I went to university, I got to live with quite a few people of 18, 19, first year students. And some of them from a religious background, and essentially for the first time living on their own, no parental supervision, and they went crazy, party all day and night.
I see.
And I mean, I learned to, let's say, let them go for a few weeks, and then have a little chat with them. That's not what the university is for.
But it's a good approach, though. So when I meet new people, not online, obviously, but in personal life, I like to observe them if I'm going to meet them again and again. Because sometimes, like, I think my sense of humor can sometimes know no bounds. I can be like really direct, and I can say something that might be politically incorrect in general life. So I like to see what the person is like. So I'll ask these little questions about, their personality, or what your thoughts on this, or what do you think of the current prime minister, or, whatever might be. And then you can see like which sort of jokes I can fly around them. Because if you're meeting somebody for the first time, you don't really care. But when you're meeting them again and again, you have to develop a relation, especially at workplace. And even though in India there's lots and lots of job opportunities, but if you know that India has a lot of population as well, so relatively, it's really hard to get a job. And so you don't want to get out of a job, for silly reason of saying whatever. So I think it's really hard. And the Hindu religion itself, on the offset, it looks nice that, people are the community aspect of it, and, going together, praying and all that, the identity, and you got this set of rules that you have to follow and your life will be good. But if you go deeply, it's not really good. People are always scammed. There are a lot of con men out there who scam people of their money. When you were telling me about Scientology, I remembered, like, there used to be this priest, or generally in an orange clothing, uh, or saffron clothing, and he used to palm read and tell people what their future will be. And generally, the people who are, I wouldn't say gullible, but they are afraid of life, that, their current is not going well, and they are hoping that their future is good. And when somebody tells you that, don't worry, you'll be fine, I think it gives them hope to fight. Now, to those people, it's really hard to ask these questions. If you were in that sort of scenario, how would you ask them questions, or what train of thought would you go through with that?
I'm not quite sure I understand your question.
Okay. So my question was, so some people are not willing to let go of hope.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yes. And then how can I talk to them about it, about atheism, or whether your believing is true or not?
I see what you mean. First of all, I don't think that if people have a miserable life, religion should be the first thing to look at.
Okay.
I think the first thing to look at is how to improve their lives.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do? What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to improve all our lives? That kind of question. They're much more important than whether there are gods, or whether you wear the right color of robe,
Yeah.
have the right dot on your head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is immaterial. It makes no difference.
Mm-hmm.
However, let's say stuff like poverty, illness, inequality. Those are things that we can do something about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not perfectly, but we can improve many people's lives without any questions about religion. But I can imagine that there are circumstances where that has been, let's say, taken care of as far as possible, and people are still miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Illness does that. Chronic illness, for instance.
Yeah.
And that can be, weirdly enough, induced by religion. And I'm not certain religion is particularly good at helping. I mean, there's not much you can do. I mean, when people are, for instance, in illness, or let's say in mourning, we're all there, occasionally or permanently. I mean, unfortunately, as I get older, my health is failing a bit. That's not something I'm miserable about, but occasionally I am.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's part of life. There's nothing I can do about this. I try to keep my health going as good as it is. I have regular medical checkups, stuff like that. But yes, I'm not the man I was 30 years ago. And nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
Occasionally, or I have had occasions to talk about this kind of thing with religious people. I'm thinking of I called her Aunt Annie. She wasn't an aunt, she was a first cousin of my mother's.
Okay.
But she was deeply devout Christian, Protestant.
Yeah.
But she was very practical in that. That her idea of being a practicing Christian is doing right to people around her. And she was very straightforward in raising her three daughters. She didn't do difficult things about making life miserable for them when they had boyfriends and stuff like that. She was very nice.
Oh, wow.
And I really, really loved her. And unfortunately, when I was around 20, she got cancer and died in a few months. And when I heard that, I went to visit her in the hospital, I must admit, and had quite a long conversation about that. Well, she was about to die, and she was in a bad state. I mean, chemotherapy does terrible things to people. And she was well aware that that chemotherapy wasn't going to cure her. She knew she was dying.
Oh, wow.
And we talked about that. And that was an interesting conversation because, I mean, throughout her life, she had regularly doubted her religion. I think that's quite a bit of, at least for people who have, well, let's say, good intellect, when they believe, doubt is part of that. Or should be. And in Aunt Annie, that absolutely was the case. But she had a faith. She trusted that after death she would go to heaven. Good for you. And I think it was at least something that kept it going. I mean, nowadays, I mean, it was before we had legalization of euthanasia. Nowadays, I'm pretty sure that she would have lived a few weeks less. She would have died a few weeks earlier because in last weeks she was in terrible pain, and nobody wants that. And now we have, I mean, when there's a legal system that essentially the doctor can give you medicine that kills you. That's legal in the Netherlands. I know this sounds terrible for many people, but we think it's a good thing.
Are you talking about euthanasia?
Euthanasia.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do that. I mean, it's voluntary. I mean, it's not. Granny is not so good anymore. Let's have her killed. It's not like that in any way. And there are quite a few hoops to go through. But it can be arranged.
Oh, wow. Since you talked about it, there's a personal thing that I wanted to share. It's not going to be personal because it's going to go online, right? But recently, one of my friend passed away due to cancer. When I say friend, it was an old, 75-year-old man. He was a very nice person, and he was very jolly in nature. Like he was kind of like a grandpa that you wanted. Because he'll tell you all the dirty jokes, and you know how we love all of that. Yeah. One of the jokes that he told me is like, what sort of bees produce milk? And the answer was boobies. So, those sort of dad jokes that you wanted to hear.
Okay.
But he was a very well-read man. He was Catholic. I was lucky enough to know him. And then he got cancer, and then he passed away. But during the last month of his passing, it was just absolutely terrible, because he couldn't do any stuff for himself. He was just in the living room, on the bed, like the hospital provided a stretcher. I went to see him a couple of times, and he couldn't do anything for himself, like even cleaning and eating and all of that stuff. I could see, like, he could barely talk. And he was such a lively person, and seeing him like that for the whole month, um, I don't, I don't know if I would want to be in those shoes. And I've heard about this euthanasia thing there, and my idea is if my body starts to pack it in, um, I don't know if that's going to be possible in India. I really don't, because India runs on religion, and there is no sort of community. Like I think sometimes we treat animals better than humans. Like for animals, I've heard you can get a dog down, uh, when he's in his old age and miserable and stuff. Uh, and but we can't let go of the human like that. I mean, I loved the guy, but uh, you don't really want them to feel really bad. Like he's just waiting to go,
Yeah. Yes.
and he doesn't have a life. He
And
can't really do
miserable, in pain, in circumstances one of the things that my Aunt Annie complained about was that her life had no decorum anymore.
Mm,
Ordinary things like being able to go to the toilet by yourself, but needing assistance.
yeah.
Essentially to wipe your butt after you had shit.
Yeah.
We do that with children, but we don't do that with any grown-ups.
Yeah.
And being forced to go there, that loss of, social nicety, nothing, everything's gone. It's terrible. And so, yes, I already did the paperwork that when I get into similar circumstances, that my physician knows what I want, that he can get the second part of the paperwork out.
Cool.
So, yes. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm 61. Death isn't so far away. I'm not dying in any way, but
Yeah.
I'll be lucky to live another 20 years.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I have no particular idea how long I'll live, but 80 would be a very good score. My father died at 60.
Oh, wow.
Good news is my mum lived to 92.
Yeah, it's a tough topic to talk about, and my aim is hopefully I can save enough money by like I'm 70 or something. And then, because generally at that time, your body starts to deteriorate, like, 50, 60, and then it just kind of goes downhill.
It's downhill.
And have enough money saved and then, go for a visitor visa. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. This is just imagination in my head. Just go to a different country, which allows for it, and then say goodbye, and then, go around the world.
I know that in Switzerland there is some possible service for that. The Netherlands, is illegal, unfortunately, because the point is that the physician who does the job essentially must be your primary caregiver, and to get one of those and get into at least to give the physician the information he needs. I think maybe you even need to be you must legally live here. Yes, I think you do. No, yes, you must legally live here. No, so you must be registered at town hall. That you live there. So that would take some time to get sorted. I know that in Switzerland, I don't know the name, but I can look it up. There is a service that can do that in a few weeks.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm 35 and looking here. I hope that is a little far away from me. And
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens in the future. This whole conversation is really important as well, even though it's not related to atheism. But the point is, religious people the religion overrules everything. That you don't think about these little things. I wouldn't say it is a little thing, but these major things, like people are born, and like I know my cousins who've given birth, and their birth has been mostly with cesarean or via operation, right? And that is done by science. If we were to just do it traditionally, the natural birth, and the religion hasn't really invented anything apart from misery, I would say, uh, we would not be able to have safe childbirth and stuff. And because my country is overruled by, religion mostly, we don't think about the life quality, I think, as much as we should. The life quality mostly is like go pray, then you're a nice person. Like I had a proposal of marriage from somebody, and my aunt said, she's a nice girl. And I said, why is she a nice girl? And she said, she go to temple every day. And I'm like, how does it make her
Oof.
nice? And then,
That is a very religious thing. I've heard the very same thing that a Roman Catholic woman, how do you say that? Advertised her daughter that she was very nice because she went to church every week.
yeah. And upon drilling the questions, and she couldn't give me like what does she do or what work she does and all that. They just don't care. They're just like in India, especially when you want to get married, the girl should be fair and and pretty and goes to temple or cook food at home. That's like the qualities, and the guy's qualities essentially is in most cases is should earn good money, and that's about it. There's no consideration about whether a person is kind and want to achieve something. And I think people should be ambitious in these days who wants to do better in life. But yeah, we just don't think about these things like that because everything, I mean, there might not be any certainty except death. So I don't know why we don't really think much about it. There's one good thing though, that you can offer your body parts for, donation. If somebody needs and you have the good enough body part, they can use it. I mean, internal body organs.
Yeah, yeah.
So I find it good. And one of my friend, Anand, he has a YouTube channel as well. He's called Pale Blue Thoughts. And I had an interview with him. It was not face to face, but he recorded it for me and sent it to me. And he said his channel is mostly science related stuff. And then he said that he wants his body parts to be donated to like science students who can use them and learn how to do stuff for surgery or something. So I thought that was a really nice thought. Because after I'm dead, I don't really care what happens to me.
That's one of those silly things. I had a bit of a health scare a few years ago, and then after I recovered mostly, and after I recovered, I realized that now it's time to do a few things like think about that, make a few decisions. So I decided that I'll be cremated after death. But before that, I signed a paper that if they want any bits for transplantation and that kind of stuff, they can have it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be needing it. And I also looked into, we call it donating your body to science. Essentially, the medical school here in town will nab your body if they want it, and use it for whatever they like, transplantation, dissection, demonstrations, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And after they're done with it, whatever is left will be discreetly cremated and done with.
Mm-hmm.
I looked into that,
mm-hmm.
but it turned out that they have too many offers in that, so they won't be needing me.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah.
So cremation, and that's it. I sorted out that few people who will be interested in my cremation can have a bit of party, I think is the word, a few drinks, dinner,
mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah. That sounds...
I mean, weirdly enough, that is stuff that, I mean, I pushed it away from me for most of my life.
Mm.
But when I realized that, it's downhill from now.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of that. And I mean, I don't have a will.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple reason that I don't have much money. So my people who live when I die may make a game of it. Do whatever you will. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Again, I won't be needing it.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a will or not really?
Nah, I mean, that there may come a reason, but that depends a bit on what will happen with, I mean, my legal heirs are my siblings. I have no children. And since I'm the youngest of my brothers and sisters, it's not clear who of them will be alive when I die.
Oh, I see.
I mean, my older sister is 10 years my senior. Mm-hmm. So there's a good chance that one or two of them won't be around at that time. Mm. And in that case, their children will inherit, which I'm fine with, but it may be possible that one of them, for instance, marries an asshole. Oh, no. But that's not the case, so it's fine.
Okay. It is I would say, it is a possibility that somebody can get married to someone that you don't like. So yeah, that is a possibility.
But that's not the case. I mean, I'm not very touchy with my relatives, I should add. I mean, I've rarely speak to them, but in physical contact, a few times a year, that kind of thing. I mean, they don't live around, so no. I have one sister who lives 30 kilometers from my home. Mm-hmm. Whom I meet regularly. That is once a month, 2 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow, now that's cool. It's been I'm having so much fun talking to you, Hein. But I do have to respect the time as well, and you have been really generous with your time.
No problem. Yeah. Weirdly enough, we didn't get into much of religious talk.
That's completely fine. It was really refreshing conversation for me for one reason, because we spoke about something really important, which was death.
Yeah.
I don't know about any other fact. Everything can be changed, but I think that is certain. So, and talking about the illness and stuff, because this is what happened, and a lot of people don't realize, like when two atheists talk, we don't talk about shitting on religion or any other thing like that. There is much more important things in life.
Yes.
Yes, and this is why I actually, because when we were talking, I'm like, I actually want to talk about this because I would want to be the person who wants to listen about these things, right? Because there's a lot of religious people are afraid of dying because they're not sure whether they're going to go in heaven or hell. That doesn't stop them from doing bad things, but that's what it is.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
thinking about this stuff for me is really important. And that's
Yeah.
why I really enjoyed the talk. And understanding a bit about Scientology was really interesting for me because this is a topic that I've never touched. So, it doesn't have to be atheism related because atheism, as far as I'm concerned, is just I don't believe in a God.
Atheism doesn't bring any message
Yes,
or rules how we should live.
yes,
How we should live and how we must treat people, we decide for ourselves.
exactly.
I try to be kind and not an arsehole.
Yes,
And that's as far as good as it gets. I mean, I have no ambition to become a saint or a hero.
yeah,
But if I can talk about this and explain to people that primarily all this is about life, not what's happening after. That's the important bit. Thanks for having me.
my pleasure. That was a great message to end, that it is all about life, not what happened afterwards. And we should all think about it. So let us think, and you can call us atheists.